started evening to welcome you. Mira Vista College is celebrating our 90th year of serving the community, transforming lives. And we are glad that you're here. We're firm believers, and thank you to our board of trustees. We have President Azar and Trustee Conklin that have really driven our ship. And one of their main goals is to make sure that we are supporting learning in and out of classrooms. So tonight's event is to provide public education on one of the propositions on the ballot this November. The college, as a district, we really leaned into this election season to make sure our students, our staff, our community is informed on what the stakes are, what's happening, what's on the ballot, and the importance of voting. So thank you for being here, and I would like to invite Scott Ashton, who's the CEO of the Oceanside Chamber. There's a lot of CEOs from Oceanside Chambers here, but I am beyond impressed with the work that Mr. Ashton does for not only the chamber, but for the city. Scott?
This thing must go higher. All right, let's see it. Thanks, Krista. Good evening, everybody. On behalf of the Chambers of Commerce serving our North County communities, I'd like to thank you all for coming to our event tonight. First, I want to thank Mira Costa College for hosting this event. Over the years, they frequently have stepped up to provide venues for forums like this, and we truly appreciate your partnership, Krista, and on your team. I'd like to thank District Attorney Summer Steffen for her commitment to ensure that our voters are educated on the importance of Prop 36, and Supervisor Jim Desmond and Assemblymember Lori Davies for their advocacy on this important issue. I'd like to acknowledge my fellow Chamber CEOs who helped organize and promote this evening's event. Here with us this evening from the Carlsbad Chamber is Brent Schweizenbach. From the Encinitas Chamber, Sherry Yardley. And from the San Marcos Chamber, Rick Rodriguez. Prop 36 is largely supported by the business community, including the California Chamber of Commerce and many local chambers throughout the state. As you will learn this evening, the accountability it will provide with regard to retail theft and drug dealing on our streets will have a profound impact on the business environment and the quality of life in our communities. It is now my pleasure to introduce our Assemblymember, Lori Davies. Assemblymember Davies represents the 74th Assembly District, which includes the communities of Southern Orange County, including Dana Point, Laguna Miguel, San Clemente, and San Juan Capistrano, plus the communities of northern San Diego, including Camp Pendleton, Oceanside, Vista, and portions of Fallbrook. Lori Davies is a small business owner and former mayor who was elected to State Assembly in 2020 and re-elected in 2022. Over the course of the last 20 years as an entrepreneur and small business owner, Lori has volunteered quite a bit here in the community. In recognition of her involvement in the community, she was awarded the Melvin Jones Fellowship Award for the Lions Club. Please join me in a warm welcome for Assemblymember Lori Davies.
Thank you all for joining me here today. It's been a busy time up in Sacramento for us, and we just adjourned about 2 weeks ago with the 2024 legislation. I'm proud to report it was a successful year for Team Davies. We have 6 bills already signed into law and have additional ones sitting on the governor's desk, so we're hoping that's going to pass, especially because that will be increasing protective orders for domestic violence victims. When I put together legislation, I look first and foremost what kind of impact will it have on my district and my communities. And one of the biggest questions we have right now is in our state and in San Diego is public safety. Now we have Prop 47 existing for the last 10 years, and we've really noticed a toll on it. One of the fundamental reasons we have public safety crisis is because of passage of both Prop 47 and 57. You, the voters, were misled to believe that Prop 47 would be to keep children in school safe. Do you remember that? Well, after 10 years, it's very clear it did the opposite. What it's done is to protect the criminal and punish the victims. According to the Public Policy Initiative of California law, we saw an uptick in crime between 2014 and 2016, right after Prop 47 especially, when it was related to property crime. Furthermore, when we talk about our drug epidemic, we have to look at the repercussions of Prop 47. Prior to this, a DA would charge someone with either a felony or a misdemeanor, depending on the severity. However, under the law now, most drug crimes are only a misdemeanor. It's a slap on the wrist. And how does that make parents feel? A little while back, 2 minors from Chula Vista overdosed on fentanyl. They were 16 and 17 years old, and unfortunately, that 17-year-old didn't make it. And because of Prop 47, his dealer will only serve minimum sentences. That's just wrong. In Sacramento, I've been focused on trying to come up with solutions to this crisis. I introduced AB 1848 this year, which would have increased penalties on fentanyl dealers if they dealt drugs near daycares, churches, public parks. I had parents that had lost their children testifying before the Public Safety Committee, having to relive these painful memories and hope that they could stop another person from having to die. And you know what? The majority party on the Public Safety Committee killed the bill. That's why we need Prop 36, because we need common sense policies in place put forth by the people if the legislation won't do their job. I spent the last 12 years working with parents that have lost their children and teens to opioid overdoses. Fentanyl being about 75% of those deaths. This last Mother's Day, I spent the afternoon with mothers that had lost their children and their teens to fentanyl. Instead of them spending time on Mother's Day with their family and their kids, they were painfully coming together to support one another and telling stories about their children. Before Prop 47, those that were caught doing drugs were given 30 days of rehab. Do you know how many people came up to me during that time and said if we didn't have that opportunity, we would probably be dead right now? I spoke, and Prop 47 unfortunately then took that option away. And you can see the results, especially in Sacramento, when you drive by and you see people passed out. Or you see our first responders, because our first responders now are spending about 75% of their time dealing with overdoses. This will give them that opportunity again. So our job is to make sure that we are helping those with addiction, that we can give them good resources, we can make sure that they have treatment that they deserve, so they have an opportunity to live a successful life, but also putting those that are dealing poison to our kids, punishing them for that. One unique approach I was happy to help support was SB 1144, which is a bill that expands the scope of existing law governing online marketplaces so that law enforcement can better track and prosecute individuals for selling stolen goods online. This will ensure that we deter the online sales of stolen property and merchandise. Back in March, the State Assembly General Attorney busted a criminal syndicate who had been stealing products from Southern California, including San Diego County, with products totaling $1.5 million. These are not impoverished people just trying to steal a loaf of bread. These are organized criminal rings who are taking advantage of our weak on-crime laws, as well as using our teams to do the dirty work due to the lack of punishment if you're a minor. This also affects the cost of insurances for our businesses, making some of them have to close their doors. Again, this is why the passage of Prop 36 is so critical, because we need tough penalties on those who are using our kids and doing the most damage to our communities. And I think it's important to understand how this was up there. In order to get Prop 36 onto the ballot, they had 900,000 signatures, and that's a lot of signatures. But it wasn't just that. There were people up in Sacramento wanting to stop it. The governor wanted to put another initiative, basically to confuse what this would do. Also, we had retail theft bills, which were fantastic, and I want to point that out, because I supported all those retail theft bills. But what they decided to do is put a poison pill in there. If we went ahead and we passed these retail theft bills that would be great for our businesses and safety of our neighborhoods. If Prop 36 passed, that would be null and void. So you can tell that if you're actually going to be reading that statement, it would probably say something like, if you pass this, we will no longer have these retail theft bills. And so it's been very confusing. So they tried very hard. The great part is, though, we were able to put pressure on, and we got them to go ahead and take the poison pill out. So now we have fantastic retail crime bills that will allow our small businesses to keep their doors open, to let those that are working there feel safe, and make sure that we're bringing the money back into the cities. You know, you deserve to feel safe, and that's my job. As a elected, our job is public safety first. So we need to make sure we're taking care of those that have addictions, mental health issues, but we have to make sure those that are putting our lives and our family safety, second, that's what we have to do. So I highly recommend supporting Prop 36, and I will be supporting that. Thank you.
President?
Well, thank you everyone for being here. It's an honor and to talk to you today about a very important issue. Unfortunately, you have three speakers speaking on the same thing, so I'm not going to try to overload you too much, but Prop 36 is a critical measure for our safety of our county, safety of our state. County, I brought forward this the proposition to Prop 36 with the support of my colleagues. Unfortunately, they punted, and they're going to bring it back here in a couple weeks with a report. But I think the report's already out that Prop 47 has really kind of failed us. People didn't really know what was in it, and Prop 36 is going to help address that. So I was on my way here. I'm always trying to do multiple things at once. I stopped at Home Depot, right across the street, right across from college. And I was going to buy a hedge trimmer. Yes, I trim my own hedges, I take out the garbage, I do all that stuff. And so, didn't get way off track. I was a few months ago. I was up on a ladder on my house. And I live at 55 in the Lincoln area. Well, the lady next door called my wife, just telling her her husband, me, was up on a ladder trying to trim these hedges. And then, so my wife wasn't home, so they called another neighbor, and they had the whole neighborhood out after me because I was up on a ladder. So I went to buy a hedge trimmer with the extension on it so I could continue to trim hedges. They were all locked up. It's like it was hedge trimmer prison down that aisle. Everything was locked up. And it's just, we don't want to live in a society like that where we have to lock everything up. Tools, and yard tools, and things like that. It was really, and then I found someone to help me find it, and to open it up and get an edge from her, but I didn't end up buying it. But we shouldn't live in a society where we have to lock everything up. We should live in a society where we trust each other, where we know the vast majority are going to be able to obey the laws. But we don't really have that. We need Prop 37 to fix it. One of the biggest aspects of Prop 36 is the fentanyl crisis. Making it more increasing penalties in trafficking and dealing of fentanyl. Last year, District Attorney Summer Steph and myself, we hosted a town hall on fentanyl. It was a heartbreaking story. We talked to parents. There was several different parents online whose children, they were children, teenagers, 15 years old or 12 years old. One teenager thought they were taking an Adderall. He was upset. His nervous about testing coming up. Took an Adderall, and it killed him. So one pill can kill. So I can't imagine as a parent, I got two kids, if one of my kids were to pass away as a teenager, it's just a burden to carry with all of your life. So Prop 36 is going to help us with those efforts. 2 years ago, District Attorney Summer Steph and I, we made we brought efforts forward for fentanyl education, particularly in the 7th and 8th grades, for kids to know, your friend might be giving you a pill to take, and you don't know, you have no idea what's in it. So we're getting education in the schools and education for parents. So parents can talk to their kids. Unfortunately, your kids can be sitting on the couch or the dinner table with you right next to you. And they're on their phone, they could be ordering event, they could be getting all this kind of stuff off of social media. So Prop 36 is going to close loopholes in the law that currently allows repeat shoplifters and organized retail crime to flourish. And this is more about accountability and restoring a sense of safety to our communities. And this isn't just about locking people up. That's not, we don't want to lock people up for shoplifting after multiple times. But we have to get tougher though. We have Prop 36 is going to allow us to not just increase the penalties, but to expand mental health and drug treatment services as a part of that within our justice system, helping those to address the root causes of crime. A lot of people are desperate, a lot of people are hungry, they need food. But if we can address the mental health issues and the issues that got them there in the position they are in the first place, that's what Prop 36 is also going to add. So it's not just going after people and trying to lock them up. It's going to provide job training, specifically targeting individuals who are homeless or struggling with substance abuse. By offering these critical services, we can help people rebuild their lives while ensuring public safety. In San Diego County, I learned we have 900 individuals, almost 1,000 individuals actually, currently in the outpatient system, recovery program. In other words, they want to get clean, they want to get off of drugs and alcohol, they want to clean themselves up, but they're still homeless. They're living on the streets, yet they're in recovery. So earlier this year, we got a program of $8 million together. I think this we can house people for at least 2 years. So if you're in a recovery program, we help you get back on your feet with a roof over your head. So I want to close by urging everyone to support Prop 36. It's a common sense, it's not a fix-all, it's a common sense to help protecting our communities and confront the drug epidemic that's out there. So let's ensure those struggling and those that need help, they get that help and help guide them towards recovery. So vote yes on Prop 36 and don't climb ladders. Anyway, thank you very much. So I want to welcome the best district attorney throughout all of California who worked with all the other districts, all the good district attorneys, to get signatures to get Prop 36 on the ballot. Our great Summer Step.
Because I'm a lawyer, and so sometimes I forget that I don't get paid by the word, you know. It's the same thing. But I'm so happy to be with all of you. I'm gonna okay, perfect. So glad to be with all of you. I'm Summer Stephan, San Diego County District Attorney. I want to thank Assembly Member Davies and Supervisor Desmond for joining me. I want to thank the Oceanside Chamber and all of the chambers. Scott, it's been an honor to work with you on many issues and this as well. Kristen, and I have a very, very place in my heart for MiraCosta. My son graduated from MiraCosta and he got an excellent education that helped him move forward. So plug for MiraCosta, and thanks to the law enforcement that's here. I've worked with you all before too, so that's what happens when you've been doing this for 30 years is you work with everybody. And the great team that helps re-entry here at MiraCosta, welcome here. So my role today is as an educator. I'm not going to tell you how to vote because that's a sacred right that you have, and I trust that you're smart enough to make your own decisions. But knowledge is power, and whenever you have a proposition, it has a lot of words and a lot of language that I hope you read it for yourself and verify because it's very important. But I'm going to try to give you a summary of the proposition and tell you what it says, what it does, and leave it to you to do what you need to do and ask your questions. But along the way, as I talk about the proposition that I'm going to focus on it, it's Proposition 36. It's going to be the last proposition on the November 5th ballot.
So, it's important that you go down and make sure that you look for it. It's titled the Homelessness, Drug Addiction, and Theft Reduction Act. And there is no competing proposition. So it's the only proposition on this topic. So that's helpful because sometimes you have multiple, as the assembly member said, competing propositions and makes it difficult. So, but in addition to reforming the laws and Proposition 36, there's some other things going on that are gonna hopefully synergize to help California and help San Diego County be a place that balances accountability with compassion. That's what we're really looking for. So, what is it about Proposition 47 that needs to be reformed? There was good intention behind Proposition 47, and it's important to know that Proposition 36 does not throw out Proposition 47. It retains the best parts of Proposition 47 and reforms the parts that had unintended consequences. So it's not, sometimes you have a proposition that says you're repealing another proposition. That is not the case here. It's keeping Proposition 47, which makes large categories of crimes misdemeanors, but it is interrupting or focusing on the unintended consequence when it comes to habitual and repeat offenders that are preying on businesses and preying on the community. It is a targeted, focused fix as to that population, not the person who makes a mistake, youthful mistake, another mistake. So, unfortunately, since the passage of Prop 47, homelessness in California has gone up by 51%. And a lot of people wonder, why would you relate homelessness and it going up with Proposition 47? But the very smart researchers have related it together because there is really no more incentive in our system to seek treatment. And when people are truly addicted to drugs like fentanyl and methamphetamine, very few seek voluntary treatment. Your Health and Human Services will tell you that 90+% of people who need treatment, they don't go and get treatment. Instead, their behavior then becomes so harmful to themselves and sometimes others that they end up with their families giving up, they're on the street, they're homeless, they are stealing to support their habit, and when police interacts with them, there's absolutely nothing police can do but hand them a citation or a book and release misdemeanor. There is no incentive in the system to have somebody accept treatment. This is why we have drug courts that I really believe in. I actually attend all the graduations for drug courts. I love seeing the humanity and dignity of life restored. But the drug courts are only half full because, again, there's really no incentive for someone who's facing a citation to accept the hard road of doing treatment. I've had parents of addicted young people who are homeless tell me, isn't there something you can do? Can't you force him to go into treatment? And the reality is, the system as set, I can't do that. So, with the retail theft, it had the intention of having somebody who goes in, steals for necessity, diapers, food, not be labeled a felon. I agree with that. They get a misdemeanor the first time they do that. If it's under 9, but what it didn't anticipate is that people would come into stores with a calculator and they would steal $940 to be just under the $950 and continue to steal from that store, and then it's always a misdemeanor or a citation. So I'm going to show you what Prop 36 will do. 900,000 people, as was said, signed the petition. The three main things it does is it addresses organized and serial theft, not first and second time thieves. It confronts the fentanyl crisis in our community. And three, it prioritizes mental health and drug treatment to incentivize that treatment. Those are the three things. And again, please review the initiative for yourself. This critical mental health and drug treatment works, but people are not signing up for it. And so this is where Prop 36 will allow on the third time, I'm going to go back, on the third time that somebody steals under 950, after they have 2 convictions, it is still not a 3 strikes or a mandatory state prison, but it allows a prosecutor to file a felony, and if the person does their treatment, the court can reduce it back to a misdemeanor. So there is an incentive to actually address the criminal behavior and interrupt that cycle of crime. Because right now, there is nothing stopping it. You know, there's people with 27 cases, 54 cases. The stores have their pictures up. They stop calling because they know the police can't do anything. They show up, it's another citation. In fact, people throw away the citation right in front of the police officer, knowing that there is no consequence. So now it's become essentially a situation where the stores are victimized. I visited this perfume owner, an immigrant. He set up his business years ago. And he showed me, he said, Summer, this is the 4th time I have to replace the camera. They damage it. You see here, I have my cheap perfumes in front when I really need to draw customers by having the nice perfumes. But I know they're going to be stolen. So I'd rather have the cheap perfume stolen in front and keep my expensive ones in the back. Again, this is unacceptable. I've talked to, for me, I've talked at Congress, I was called as an expert witness, and what I told Congress is the economic loss is important to all of us. But more important is what I've been seeing is a look in the eyes of the clerks in the stores. And it's a look of hopelessness, like people are stealing really their raises, their ability to work safely, and they're walking out the door and there's absolutely nothing they can do about it. That hurts my heart, is to see a young lady, her first job, that should be safe. She didn't sign up to be in law enforcement like some crazy people like me. She signed up to have a nice job, to become a makeup artist in the future, and at an Ulta store, but what she's getting is having to look over her shoulders all the time because thieves are coming in all the time. So it allows us the chance to charge a felony and demand treatment. On the drug part, hard drugs, not marijuana, methamphetamine, fentanyl, it requires that on the 3rd conviction, there is a treatment-mandated felony. So the judge will say you have 2 doors. You can choose treatment, and if you finish your treatment, not only will it drop to a misdemeanor, the conviction is entirely removed from your record if you do your treatment. So it is truly a life-saving measure to try to get people into treatment. It adds fentanyl to the list of hard drugs. It's unimaginable that fentanyl is not on the list, and it killed 77,000 people in the United States last year, in 2023. That's more than heart attacks, guns, diabetes, car accidents. There's no other cause that came close to devastating 77,000 people. Yet it's not on the list of hard drugs like methamphetamine, cocaine, and heroin, when it's 50 times stronger than heroin. It doesn't make any sense. It also enables stricter liabilities for dealers. It it adds an enhancement where if you sell fentanyl and someone dies or ends up with brain damage, you have an additional consequence for that life. That is what it does. It also makes sure that you get a warning when you're convicted, like a DUI warning, where it tells you if you commit this crime again, you will end up paying the price for the death that results, like what we call a Watson warning. So that's what the proposition does. I'm going to cover a couple more things that are happening that are going to, together with 36, if it passes, help our homeless population, help our population. Because I don't know if you know this figure, but the coroner keeps numbers on overdoses based on homelessness. And the coroner told us that people who are homeless are dying of overdoses at 117 times higher rate than someone who's not homeless. What that does, that means that homelessness is based in poverty, it's based in trauma. We see some of our veterans, we see domestic violence victims, human trafficking victims. It's a complex issue, but it's very hard to argue with the coroner's numbers that addiction is a part of homelessness, that there is a substantial segment that is trapped on the streets because of addiction. And being able to tell that person, here's an incentive, you're going to do treatment. We're not going to just give you a citation time and time again, could be life-saving. So that's a part of it. Let me go through the couple of things quickly and then I'll open it up for questions. So one of the innovations coming to San Diego County that I'm very excited about, that the Board of Supervisors unanimously voted on, and it's being beta tested as we speak at the Oceanside Transition Center for homelessness. It is an app. Can you imagine this? The intersection of technology can really help us do things. And here we used an app that we use to house victims in crime. We brought down the time that we can house a crime victim from 10 days to 8 minutes with an 80% match. So we allocated some funds that we got from asset forfeiture to expand this application to all of homeless so that you know in real time whether you have a suitable shelter for a person. Because a lot of the great social workers and police officers tell us that when they approach somebody who's homeless, if they have to wait to tell them that they have an actual shelter for them, you are going to lose them. That moment of clarity where they're ready to leave that life, to engage in treatment and housing might have disappeared. So being able to use like a hotels.com model where, you know, when you're trying to book a vacation and you look at hotels and you plug in your specifications and up pops a hotel in your price range, that's how this looks like. Is up will pop the number of shelters available to you that are suitable. And then you begin the phone calls directed at those exact shelters. The beauty of it too is transparency, that if you're not able to shelter someone, it feeds into a data lake that will tell you why that shelter wasn't available. Is it that somebody who's elderly who can't go up to a second bunk is not getting housed? What is it? So that when government wants to spend money on shelters, they are directing those monies specifically to the need that is there. So that's very exciting because remember, nothing takes one solution. So it's bringing all the solutions, the proposition, the ability to incentivize treatment, along with more innovations. And then the other point that's happened is SB 43 passed. You might not realize this, but Senator Ekman worked for years to pass SB 43. And what that will do is it lowers the standard to allow police or a doctor or a professional to take someone to be evaluated by a psychiatrist to see if they need treatment. The standard in California is really not conducive to health, because the standard, unlike many states that have much lower homelessness rates, is danger to self or others. SB 43 makes it where if you're unable to care for yourself because of a substance abuse issue or a mental health issue, you can be taken to a psychiatrist to evaluate whether you need additional mental health care or substance abuse care. And the county is supposed to, I think we're on schedule to roll this out in January of the coming year, to expand the ability to remove somebody from danger before they are in mortal danger of losing their life, which then will also allow more humanity. So I'm very excited about the future, bringing together all of the different innovations. Prop 36, if it passes, is now polling at 71% by an independent polling group, but I learned not to believe polls, so this is why I want people to be educated, to vote, and all of the other innovations of SB. I have a lot more information here, so if you ask a question, I might pop a slide that answers your question. Is this the, Cameron, is this the end of the question? So this is Cameron Celeste. He is our Director of Economic and Business Development and Safety. So he kind of hears the woes of all the businesses on a daily basis, and we try to translate it into good policy. So
we'll open up to questions. We ask that everybody ask one question, and once we get through everyone's question, if there's more time, we'll make time for second questions. When you ask your question, please state your name and community group that you're here with.
My name is Doug Mooney, and I actually had the pleasure of serving as a deputy district attorney under Somerset. And my question is, I find
he's retired now, so he doesn't get any bonus points.
Enjoy it. But anyway, I think everything I've heard, honestly, is very constructive. My question is, will it be integrated into the juvenile justice system?
Yeah, all of these laws will be integrated, but juvenile justice has its own, as you know, world. So yes, it will allow that additional incentive to engage in treatment, but juvenile justice will have some additional benefits because it's already rigged towards rehabilitation first, as you well know, as opposed to punishment. So the law will be the same, but the application will be even more liberal as it comes to juveniles. Yes.
Hi, my name is Ashley Gerdo, and I'm just here as a concerned Oceanside citizen. I must be the anomaly because I was a drug addict and I was not afforded treatment because of my felonies and because of a habitual criminal and a habitual runaway. I had to beg for drug court, and because of drug court, I now have 14 years clean, so I do believe in drug court. However, my question is that we are in an anticipated $14 billion deficit in the state of California. We currently spend $22 billion on incarceration already, and if this proposition passes, we're spending about another $5 billion. And so I'm wondering, how is there still going to be funding for mental health, for substance abuse, and for homelessness?
Right, so first, I'm sad to hear that you had to fight so hard to get humane treatment, and I'm very proud of what you've accomplished. But the reality is that Proposition 47 promised that the money savings are going to go into better schools and better treatment. But the problem is that it was a voluntary treatment. And so the money stayed on the table. When we had Prop 47 money come in, the county couldn't spend it. They called stakeholders because people were not walking in voluntarily to engage in treatment. So the reality is that because they're still going to get that first chance, second chance without any incarceration, those money savings from saving money from incarceration are still there. On the third time, that money captured will actually be used for treatment because that person now won't have a choice. It's a door of incarceration or a door of treatment. So the functioning of the purpose of 47 will work a lot better. Plus, the costs that we are not measuring are the cost of homelessness, the cost of disease caused by addiction, the cost of crime to our community, the mental health cost to workers who want to be safe, the cost of losing 77,000 in San Diego, 815 to fentanyl. All of those costs are an incredible cost that we are not capturing. So I don't see it, I actually see it, having been in this field for so long, as lowering the cost for incarceration. Because when you put in a system that's reasonable and common sense, then people are going to take advantage of treatment. We've seen it. We've seen it with Veterans Treatment Court, with drug court. So in the end, I feel like you're going to interrupt the cycle and actually save more money on incarceration. What we do now is we wait till somebody escalates so much that they start hitting people with sticks behind their head, escalating to violence, escalating to being used in organized crime for rampant retail theft. So this interrupts those cycles of violence before they happen. So I see this as it's going to end up saving us money, not costing us money. I've read the analysis. It doesn't, I don't buy it from my real world experience, but it's a very good question. Other questions? Yes?
I thank you, Ms. Stevens, for this educational presentation. My name is Vanessa, and I'm also here as a concerned citizen. And according to what I have been learning is that, and I want to know your thoughts on this, that this proposition is a misleading proposition because it's funded by special interest retailers, DAs, and prison guard associations, and is motivated by profit and not public safety. What are your thoughts on who's going to benefit the most from this bill being passed?
I think the people are going to benefit, but I don't want to make up your mind for you. But what I can tell you is that in my career, I have never seen an effort that is so bipartisan and so non-political. I've never seen the mayor of San Jose, a progressive liberal, the mayor of San Francisco, and our own mayor, Mayor Gloria, join forces with Republicans on supporting this. I've never seen the Black chamber, the Hispanic chamber, the Asian chamber, where small businesses of color are trying to pursue the American dream, support an initiative. So I've seen it, I've seen the large retailers, I've seen the small business owners support it. If you go to Californians for Safer Communities, you'll see pages of support, and the support is so diverse and it runs across the gamut of, so in my mind, this is a proposition that is signed for by the people and it is meant to benefit the people.
District Attorney Summers, thank you for being here. My name is Kelly Davis, and I'm a member of IJ Action. And yes, IJ Action is opposed to this measure. One of the reasons Vanessa has said that they feel that it's actually going to shift funding away from programs that are already in existence. And I'm just a little curious about this rehabilitation part that you're saying that they can go into treatment. Now, are they is the vision to already place them in these places that already address that? Or is this going to be a new version of going to another building that might feel a little bit like incarceration again?
Right, treatment is treatment, it's out of custody, not treatment. And if there's programs already existent, those are going to be leveraged, like our drug court is half empty. So hopefully it will be full on day one. We'll have everybody receiving treatment with programs in the community. And again, I've read the same thing, it just doesn't work from, and I appreciate your opposition, I respect, I know you guys do great work, but I think there is a lot of propaganda that's not accurate. And that's that this is going to take away funding from treatment. In fact, the whole purpose of it is to incentivize treatment. And currently, the money for Prop 47 is not what it promised. It's not being used. The savings from incarceration are not fully being used to the maximum ability to really give people treatment. And that's because as hard as great people try, they can't get sometimes people who are deeply addicted to buy in. But when a court, I've seen it, I've sat in these courts where a compassionate judge says, you've reached the end of your rope. Now I want to give you treatment, or you're going to have another door. I've seen people accept treatment and be successful. Almost, if you attend the drug court graduations with me, you'll see that almost every graduate will say, if it wasn't for the judge not giving me an option, I wasn't going to choose treatment.
So the rehabilitation will be going to existing programs, or is it going to be a whole, go into another facility?
There's no facility. It is treatment, community-based treatment programs. If there's programs already doing it, then they would be expanded to handle capacity. If there's a need for brand new programs, for example, what's missing, I think, is dual diagnosis. We see a lot of our community has dual diagnosis issues, and more money needs to go into dual diagnosis of mental illness with a combination of addiction.
And just one more thing, and then I'll shut up. So it's been
That's okay. It's been my experience with Prop 47 that I have gone to our nation's capital, and I've also gone to our state's capital with people who are formerly incarcerated. And when 47 came across, so many of the people that are now my age, I'm in my 50s, that got incarcerated back then, they are such active community members. I mean, the Rising Scholars Program here at Maricosta and Palomar, a reflection of our returning residents that are now productive citizens, thanks to like Prop 17 that gave people who are on parole right to vote in 2020. So I guess I had my spidey senses, lifted a little bit with Walmart and Target, supporting this, and my spidey senses is a little lifted of, okay, it's going to go to rehabilitation when it doesn't feel like it's, as it rescinds 47, 46, 47, there's just, I work so closely with people that have benefited from that, and that it's being rescinded just makes me a little uncomfortable because they're now doing so well.
I'm so glad you're here. I want you to continue to do your investigation, absolutely, but remember that it's not going to affect the people who are rehabilitated. It's really only for someone who commits a crime in the future and decides to continue after having 2 convictions that would even enter into this realm of discussion of whether they're going to get treatment or go to jail. So, I took a lot of time really studying it because I believe in second chances and rehabilitation. But I think that the system as we have it now is out of balance. It is, and we should have balance. We should protect victims, we should protect the community to be safe, and protect people who make mistakes. And I think this kind of strikes, I think all it did is took the edges out of the unintended consequences and kept the best parts. That's my view, but I want you to decide for yourself.
Hi, my name's Nancy. I'm a Maricosta student. Thank you for being here, and thank you Supervisor Desmond for all the work you've done on mental health issues. It is a dual diagnosis. I'm formerly homeless, formerly criminal justice, formerly incarcerated. You can't force a person to stay in the mental health system. You can give them treatment, but you can't force them to follow through with it. I'm thinking about one individual I know on the street right now. Way past that. I mean, the drugs have messed with the brain, and it's all mental health. That's how she survives. It's a miracle she's not dead yet. You cannot force people like that to go in to treatment, because they will just leave.
And I hear you. I don't think that anything is a one-size-fits-all for everybody, but I do think that there are many people, and I've seen many people, that we thought there was no way. But there is hope, and when the criminal justice system allows that, allows the chances, allows a judge to continue to push for treatment and have a consequence behind it, it does make a difference. That's my experience, but I'm not saying it's going to help everybody. I wish it could.
I just want to touch base because I can see the concern of, are we going to have funding? We're talking about a deficit. It's actually $78 billion deficit. And so, right, exactly. But we had Proposition 1 that was on the ballot in March, and that passed. And so it authorized $6.38 billion in bonds to build mental health treatment facilities for those with mental health and substance use, provides homeless. We've got the funding now to actually go ahead and have more treatment centers out there, which I think is a good thing. Also help combining the homelessness. And, in listening to what you were talking about, my sister-in-law, my husband and I were conservators for her. She was manic depressive, schizophrenia, and back in the 80s, you know what, she was doing great, but she got off her medicine. We get a call from Fairview, which is in Orange County, and they're like, Lori, you know what, we picked her up, but we're able to go ahead, and we got her there, gave her a chance to get back to the medicine, because a lot of times they're feeling well and they don't think they need it. But we had that opportunity where she could go back, get back to what she needed to, and she had a wonderful life. And every now and then, it happened. But that's what they stopped. And that's what we have to get back so much more. We have CarePort that the governor had pushed, which you can go before a judge and really make a case now for your loved one. Because again, I get calls and they're like, I'm concerned, my daughter is living in an apartment, I'm afraid she's going to burn it down, she's going to hurt someone, and there's nothing I can do, and there's nothing that our law enforcement can do to help to get them the treatment, even if it's a 5150, it's 72 hours. So we are working on that, and that's where we need your help. We need your help to say, you know what, it's not humane to let that person feel like that, because they're going to end up hurting themselves or someone else. And we have to realize, because what happened back then when they changed that law, is because there were bad actors out there. There were people putting people, taking their civil rights away and taking them and locking them up. But we have to fix that. But when you go from here to here, you see a lot of this, and this is what happens. So that's what we need to work on, and that's something that I've been working on, because again, having that opportunity to see that it really helped her. They can't help themselves at that point. So, you know what? We'll be working on that. That's one of my goals on the legislation next year.
Do we have anyone that hasn't asked a question yet before I get back to we'll do 2 more questions?
My question is about the treatment centers. Will there be enough spaces for all the people who choose to go to treatment? Or will they have to wait? Or will they have to pay for it themselves?
So I can't answer that question other than what the assembly member said, is that the timing, like I said, is not one thing that works by itself. The Measure 1 that passed is going to allow a lot of money, $6 billion, $6.3 billion to have treatment facilities, to expand that. Pay for it themselves, that's not a part of the court-ordered programs. They never ordered them to pay for the treatment themselves. It's court-ordered, it's provided by behavioral health. I don't know if any of our drug court members that pay for their treatment, it's provided for. So that's a good thing. Nobody's ever refused. I mean, we have people without anything that are in drug court. So the court doesn't accept them dependent on whether they have Medi-Cal. That is not a part of that's not in any of the criteria I've ever read.
Is there anyone that hasn't asked a question yet? Moving to our final question.
Okay, again, thank you for this. So currently, I think it's about $130,000 a year to incarcerate somebody in the state of California. And what I'm finding now is that over the next 10 years, Proposition 36 would impact California communities. It would increase the population of about 1.5 million people will be in state prisons. 100,000 more people will be sent to California jails. And right now, from what I'm learning during my research, is some of these people that would go to county jails would go to prison instead. So, and a lot of these people are young. How does that even make sense? And if we are dealing with mass incarceration right now, how is this going to help that problem?
Well, I know I've read the materials that say that they're from the same people that supported 47, and they did it for good reasons, but now for some reason, even though 10 years of experience have shown that it has gone too far and that the losses to our community have gone too far and that homelessness has gone up, that people's overdoses have skyrocketed, they're not willing to go to the middle. And that's okay, that's their right not to do that. What I want is for everybody to read it for themselves and not to read propaganda, not from me, not from anybody. Read the initiative for yourself, and you will see the multiple chances that's in the words of the initiative that people are given in order to really favor treatment over incarceration. The only place where that is not true is when it comes to fentanyl dealers. It is recommending a prison sentence. That's true.
That's the conclusion. Supervisor?
Sorry. Somebody asked about facilities. And I can tell you the answer on facilities. Are there facilities and are there enough? No, absolutely not. As I mentioned, we have 900 people who are getting sober on their own and going through treatment that are still homeless. We don't have the housing for them. And one of the things I just did at the last Board of Supervisors meeting was write a letter to the governor and say, okay, we're going to implement SB 43, they're starting in January, but we don't have the resources. We don't have the facilities. And we don't have, even if we get somebody who wants help and we get them into recovery, we need the housing afterwards. We need sober living facilities. We need places like that. And I can tell you, just talking to a friend from Carlsbad here, nobody wants any of that next to them. Nobody wants any regular housing next to them. So that's something we got to overcome. And we need these types of facilities. We need sober living housing. We got to figure out how to do this. And that's one of the things we're doing in the county. First of all, the state used to have mental health hospitals. They're done. This is why you're getting severely mentally severe SVPs, sexually violent predators coming to your neighborhoods. So it's a challenge that we're all facing. We're all trying to work on. We're all trying to solve it. We don't have the facilities. We don't have enough, but it's one of the things we're working on. I know the hospitals are all crying out to us saying, hey, we can't hold these people for so long. We don't have the beds or places to put them. But so with the county, we're working on that. It isn't easy. Like I said, I had my head handed to me in Vista for trying to put such a facility in there. And it's going to be difficult trying to get those facilities going. But we're going to continue to work on them. I know it's the right thing to do. And sorry, you did a fantastic job. Thank you very much.
This will be the last question. We got to wrap up the program.
Thank you, Supervisor Desmond, and the work that you have been doing. Representative Davies, I just, and you may have spoken, when you were up there, I guess again, the spidey senses, you said it would help this community with rehabilitation and housing. And I guess what makes me think of is the days of old when they went to this building, this mental institution, and it just became another institution. This time we're just going to house all of the people that are addicted. And I know that's not the vision, it's not the intention, but with everything that we're saying now, we simply don't have that infrastructure. And so do we just kind of just put them back in prison for a while until we work it out? And again, since we don't have that infrastructure just yet, when I heard you say it could also help with the unhoused, it was like, what is this really? So it's more of a statement than a question, but it just still makes me a little nervous.
The law, the proposition it says that somebody's gonna have a chance at treatment, so they can't be punished if we're not ready to have them have treatment. It's not like the judge could say, oh, you want treatment, but the law says you get that alternative, but we're not going to do it. So the language of that's why I think the language is the most important. And I read it multiple times because I didn't want any traps, and I certainly didn't want to stand in front of the community and describe something that's inaccurate. So it doesn't say that if we don't have treatment for them, we're going to lock them up. They want to accept treatment, then they get that option, and it's on us to make sure they have treatment.
I just want to jump on that too. Is one thing when we looked at prior to Prop 47, we have to realize that 30 days isn't enough for treatment. And I think that was one of the biggest mistakes that we did have because we get 30 days, and 30 days, sometimes you have people that it takes a year. And but we need to make sure that they can manage their addiction. That is a lifetime management. And I think that's what's really important, that we are there to support them all the way to the very end. And I think that'll make a difference because you can sit there and detox someone, give them 30 days, but if they're going to go right back out, and the scary part is that their system is clean, so they may decide to take the same dosage that they've done before, and that's what you're watching, is we're watching them die. So we have to make sure we just don't put a 30-day limit on this. We have to make sure that they are mentally stable, that they're with this addiction, that they have the treatment, and it should be that they can be going to classes, and having someone check in on them and saying, how are you doing it for the rest of their life? Because again, we need to let them manage their addiction. We're never going to get rid of the addiction. It's managing it the right way and giving that support 100%, all the way to the end.
We want to give everybody the opportunity to ask a question.
So first, we were told that today would be from 5:30 to 7:30, so if we have time for more conversation, I would love to extend more than just this last question because we were allowed till 7:30. So what I'm hearing is I do want to keep harping on the treatment center because I'm hearing that Prop 1 has funding. I'm hearing that residual from Prop 47 has funding. And I'm hearing that there's a poll that 70%-ish are supporting this. So if there's a projection that this will likely pass, and if there is current funding, and there is an issue with the facilities and the treatments, and the promise that if you want treatment, you'll get it, but the other thing I'm hearing is that where are the facilities? So if there is the idea that there's already funding, there's a projection that this will pass, I'm curious, why is there not movement now about making those treatment facilities happen now.
As Supervisor Desmond said, that's all everybody in the board wants, to make sure that there's enough shelters, there's more treatment. If you look at the board of supervisors, they have multiple actions to do that, and we have to do it anyway. Remember, I put up on the board SB 43. That work has been going on for months to try to have expanded treatment for SB 43, for the standard. So that's why I put it up, because it all goes together. What I was saying, I didn't guarantee the treatment. I can't do that. I'm your local DA. What I said was that the way the law is written, my interpretation is it's not going to be on the person if there isn't a treatment facility. The judge can't say, oh, you accept treatment, but we don't have it, so you're going to jail. That's not the way the law is written. That's what I'm saying. I haven't seen that scenario yet. I've seen the drug courts work. If we get to that scenario, then that's on us. There should be more facilities. I don't know if they'll give them outpatient in the meantime, they'll wait for a bed. I can't guarantee those things. What I'm saying is that the drug courts are half full right now. There is capacity right now. It's not full. And my hope is that it will be full and that people will take advantage of treatment. No, the court defense, yeah, but the court is half full. That means they're set up for a full capacity. They have treatment providers that contract with the court, but they don't have enough participants.
Yeah, I think Rick Robinson was here in the city, happened to be on city council too, but don't tell. I hear all the questions about facilities, and just in the news the other day was in Norwalk, where one of our state mental health hospitals used to be, was in Norwalk. LA County has a plan now and is working with the state to refurbish that state property. And I'm just reading from the article that it would add 219 beds. So when we talk about facilities, it's going to take time to get these facilities up. It's going to take initiatives like this, what LA County wants to do, and that's going to have to happen all over the state. So I think, again, kind of unrealistic to sit here and say, well, we don't have the facilities, because the facilities will come.
Well, the problem is Prop 47 promised all this treatment, right? So that treatment should have been all set up for everybody. Exactly. But there's a lot of people who are not. Right, but there's a lot of people who aren't. I'm just saying Prop 47 already had the promise of treatment, and it worked for some, but not for all.
Is there anyone who has asked a question that would like to ask?